3 months ago. This episode would have been focused on questioning whether the very thought of death or even suicide was inherently bad. And from what you may have gathered thus far, I carry a fairly libertarian view on thought. If I hadn't, this short series wouldn't even exist. However, there are events that have taken place during my hiatus that have drastically changed my family's life for the better part of this year. An event that has been all too familiar with my family. To the small viewer base that I have amongst my friends and family, this may come as news to you. I bring up the low view count because if it had been any higher, I wouldn't be saying any of this because I would feel as though I was profiting off of family tragedy, which is far from the truth. It may bring a better perspective and relinquish some worries that have accumulated over the past month. I hope at least clarity will overcome any sense of grief. Now, my youngest sister, Linnea, was admitted into the Phoenix Children's Hospital 2 months ago. And as some of my extended family would know, this wouldn't be the first time she has given us a scare like this. But this time was different. While starting as just a checkup with a doctor in our hometown about some leg pain, we discovered that they would be leaving for Seattle in the next few days. After my mother told me what the doctor was able to come up with, I instantly assumed the worst. I'm no doctor, but I know that any form of mass growing on any part of the body was instantly a call for concern and action. I don't want to make a focus of it, but it's worth mentioning that myself and my family included have gone through personal trauma from a death in the family many years ago. Jeremiah was his name, and after Linnea, he was the youngest addition to our family. Born on my birthday, he lived 3 months before passing away in his sleep. I was the one who discovered his body. I remember that it hit the hardest when I had left for a mission trip to Nicaragua with a bunch of my old friends from the last town I lived in. That was 5 years later on my 17th birthday. I had broken down in tears surrounded by my friends in a total embrace. And it was the first time I felt real peace since the accident. Now, amidst tragedy and heartache, I found myself to be, for a lack of a better word, more together. It sounds incredibly sociopathic because people are expected to be unraveled in their grief, right? But for me, the ever-looming sense of melancholy has been more or less a path inside the life I lead that's just meaningless wandering. I have a fairly reputable job at a local TV station where I'm able to do what I wanted to since I was 10. And I have so many opportunities for growth in my career because of it and my steadily growing clientele that the possibilities of where I'll go is endless. But I don't plan ahead for it. I just accept my next job. It's a stone path that is covered with mud until a little rain clears the next stepping stone. So when something unexpected comes up like a loss, or a medical trip, or a breakup, whatever, it only seems to make the path more clear. I know what I need to do, and that is carry on. A lesson that is so stupidly obvious, but for many, including myself at one point, seemed utterly impossible to carry out in practice. It's a factor of life that no person is outright prepared to go through because tragedy is best friends with the unknown. But it's also the very best of friends with progress. A lesson as brutal as that comes to all of us with time, and despite being familiar with loss, I hadn't come to terms with that lesson until about a year ago. Don't get me wrong, I will mourn, I will scream, and I will anguish when tragedy bares its teeth, but tragedy is a path that does not care for your plans. Is your schedule open enough for such cases? Of course not. This episode is proof of that, and what comes next will be the result of such an event.